What if I told you that the reason you still don't have your manifestation has nothing to do with your circumstances and everything to do with the story you keep repeating in your mind every single day? Because listen carefully. Most people think manifesting $10 is easier than manifesting $10,000. They think manifesting a text message is easier than manifesting marriage. They think attracting a new relationship is easier than fixing an old one. They think going on a holiday abroad is somehow bigger than manifesting free coffee or seeing angel numbers. But the truth is, to the law, it is all the exact same concept. And the moment you truly understand this, your entire reality starts changing. Welcome back to the channel where we break down manifestation, Neville Goddard, self-concept, and the hidden truths about reality that nobody explains properly. And today, we're going to destroy one of the biggest lies people unconsciously believe: that their situation is somehow too difficult for the law to work. Because lately, I've been seeing the same pattern over and over again. People message me saying, "But they blocked me. But my circumstances are horrible. But I've been struggling for years. But they said they never want to see me again. But I come from poverty. But my life is different. And I need you to understand something deeply. The law does not discriminate. It does not care whether you are rich or poor, young or old, confident or insecure. It does not care whether someone loves you right now or hates you right now. It does not care whether your dream seems realistic or impossible. The law works based on consciousness, based on what you persist in being, based on what story you repeatedly accept as true. That's it. And honestly, some of you have unconsciously placed yourselves above the law in the worst possible way. You think you are the one exception. You think, maybe this works for other people, but not for me. But why would you be excluded from a universal principle? Neville said it himself countless times. Circumstances do not matter. Not sometimes. Not only when things look favorable. Not only when movement appears. Circumstances do not matter. And yet people continue to worship circumstances every single day. They affirm for 10 minutes, then spend the next 12 hours reacting emotionally to the 3D world. They say they trust the law, but panic the moment something unfavorable happens. And this is exactly why manifestation feels inconsistent for so many people. Because they keep checking the old story for validation while trying to create a new one. Listen carefully. The how is not your problem anymore. I know the logical mind hates hearing that. The human brain wants to calculate every possible outcome. It wants guarantees. It wants proof. It wants to know exactly when, where, and how things will happen. But manifestation does not operate through force. It operates through identity. The moment you decide who you are, reality begins reorganizing around that assumption. But most people never persist long enough because they keep entertaining the old version of themselves. They keep saying, "But this happened. But they ignored me. But nothing is changing." And every single time you repeat the old story, you keep yourself emotionally chained to it. You have to let the old man die. That old identity that constantly complains, constantly doubts, constantly reacts, constantly searches for evidence. That version of you cannot enter the new reality. You must persist in the new story, even when the old reality still looks unchanged. And this is where most people fail. Not because manifestation is fake, but because persistence feels uncomfortable to the ego. Now let's address something important. Yes, naturally, your mind may have less resistance to manifesting $10 than $10,000. If you've never experienced wealth before, your subconscious mind may treat larger amounts as unrealistic. That's normal. But do you know how you overcome resistance? Brazen impudence. one of the most powerful concepts Neville ever taught. Brazen impudence means refusing to bow to appearances, refusing to accept the limitations of the current reality, refusing to let circumstances define what is possible for you. It means persisting so boldly in your assumption that the external world eventually has no choice but to conform. And honestly, some of you need to study this concept repeatedly until it clicks. Because manifestation is not about forcing reality. It is about becoming internally loyal to your desired identity. That is why two people can use the exact same techniques and get completely different results. One person affirms while secretly doubting themselves all day. The other person affirms and fully accepts the new story as reality. One is trying to get. The other is already being. And being is what manifests. Now let me say something personal for a moment. I'm not some perfect person who never experiences doubt. Sometimes doubts appear for me too. Sometimes the logical mind tries to creep back in. But when that happens, I do not sit there spiraling emotionally for days. I go back to the fundamentals. I reread Neville's books. I revisit success stories. I watch lectures again. I remind myself of the basics. And more importantly, I practice the law myself. Because at the end of the day, this is not about endlessly consuming information. It's about applying it. Some people spend years watching manifestation videos while never actually changing their identity. They become addicted to searching instead of embodying. But no amount of information will replace persistence. No amount of videos will replace self-concept. No amount of techniques will replace the decision to remain faithful to your new story. And I really need you to hear this next part. There is no karmic punishment blocking your desires. There is no universal force saying, "You suffered too much, so you can't have this." Or, "You made mistakes in the past, so you don't deserve your manifestation." No. You are not separate from the operant power. Your assumptions create. And the moment you stop identifying with the old reality, the new one begins unfolding, even if you cannot fully see it yet. That's why the law works for everyone. Consciously or unconsciously, people are always manifesting. The difference is whether you are doing it deliberately or automatically. So if you've been feeling discouraged lately, if you've been obsessing over circumstances, if you've been thinking your situation is somehow impossible, take this video as your reminder. Nothing is impossible to consciousness. Your current reality is not final. Your circumstances are not permanent. Your past does not define your future unless you continue identifying with it. Persist in the new story. Persist in the new self-concept. Persist in the assumption that what you desire is already yours. And stop asking reality for permission to believe in yourself. Because the moment you fully accept your desired identity internally, the external world eventually mirrors it back. That is the law. If this video shifted your perspective even slightly, make sure you subscribe, because this channel is here to help you completely transform the way you see manifestation, reality, and yourself. Comment below. What old story am I finally letting go of? And remember, whether it's $10 or $10,000, a text message or marriage, a new relationship or reconciliation, to the law, it is all the same concept. I'll see you in the next video.